the queen had returned to the palace, and feeling satisfied, questioned the magic mirror, which replied, "Here in the castle, O queen, your beauty is unmatched, but deep in the forest lives the fairest maid in all the land." This reply infuriated the queen. She swore to herself that Snow White would die. She withdrew into a secret room and prepared a potion of toad's legs and unicorn's nails, scorpion's tails and rat's ears, which she boiled for hours. When it was ready, she took a beautiful red and green apple and dipped the red side into the potion. Then the queen dressed up as a beggar and set off for the dwarf's house. Along the way, she rubbed her hands in glee. Nobody would be able to survive such a potent poison. When she was in sight of the house, she started to shout, "Apples! Beautiful apples!" Snow White came up to the window and told her that she couldn't open the door because the 7 dwarfs had forbidden her to. But the witch did not give up. "That doesn't matter," she said. "I only want you to try one of my apples. They're delicious and don't cost anything." "Thank you," said Snow White, "but the dwarfs have forbidden me to accept anything from anyone." The old woman smiled. "Oh, one apple has never done anyone any harm," she said. "What are you afraid of? Are you afraid it might be poisoned? Look, to reassure you, I will also eat a bit." And she bit into the green part. Then she offered the red part to Snow White. "Courage, little girl. Can't you smell how sweet it is?" "What can I fear of such a good old woman?" Snow White thought, and took the apple. But as soon as she put the poisoned apple to her lips, she fell to the ground, dead. The evil stepmother was glowing from her victory. "White as snow, red as blood, black as ebony. Yes, truly beautiful Snow White. Ha 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 ha!" she cackled. "But this time the dwarfs will not be able to bring you back to life." And with a sneer, she left. As soon as she reached the castle, the queen hurried to question the mirror, and this time the mirror replied, "You, O queen, are fair and lovely too. In all the land there is none as beautiful as you." The wicked queen was triumphant, but she had one more task. She summoned the disobedient huntsman and ordered him to leave the castle forever. Back in the forest, the 7 dwarfs returned home after their work and found Snow White collapsed on the floor. They tried all the remedies they knew, but this time there was no means of bringing her back to life. They took her in their arms and laid her on a little bed. All 7 knelt down and wept for 3 days and 3 nights. They decided to bury her in an oak coffin studded with diamonds, which they had collected from their mine. But when they saw that after 3 days Snow White was even more beautiful than before, her skin snow white and her hair shining ebony, they built a crystal case instead, and on the top they wrote her name in golden letters. They carried the case to the most beautiful and sunny glade in the whole forest, and every evening they went to find her there. They knelt by her and wept quietly. A long time passed, and Snow White continued to lie in her crystal coffin. She seemed as if she had fallen into a deep sleep. One day, a young prince rode by. Noticing the coffin of crystal, he stopped and read the inscription. On seeing the beautiful young girl, he fell hopelessly in love and remained there the whole day, kneeling by her side. When evening came, the 7 dwarfs came into the clearing and saw the young prince in tears. They told him that Snow White was the daughter of a king and that she had been poisoned by her evil stepmother. "I want to carry her away with me," said the prince. But the dwarfs wouldn't be separated from Snow White for anything in the world. "I beg you," pleaded the prince. "I feel that I cannot live without her. I will protect her. I will honor her as she deserves, and I will love her for the rest of my life." When the dwarfs realized what the prince's feelings were, they granted his wish. The prince ordered that she be carried carefully by his men, and a procession was formed by the dwarfs and all the animals of the forest. But on the way, one of the servants tripped on a root and lost his balance. With the jolt, the piece of poisoned apple that Snow White still had in her throat fell out, and very slowly she opened her eyes. "Oh, where am I?" she asked. The prince took her hand and kissed her. Then he told her of his great love for her and explained how he had found her in her crystal case in the forest. He also told her that he would like to take her as his wife and asked her to go with him now to the grand castle where the king, his father, lived. The 7 dwarfs and all the animals were overjoyed that Snow White was alive, and they waved goodbye with tears in their eyes. Snow White promised that she would return often to visit them in the forest. The wedding was celebrated with great pomp, and by chance, Snow White's stepmother was invited too. The moment she recognized the beautiful bride, she was so overcome by rage that she died on the spot. But Snow White and her prince lived happily ever after.